Coming up on Network Africa. The United States pushes for tougher United Nations sanctions on Sudan's warring parties. Two United Nations peacekeepers killed in an ambush in South Sudan. Plus, Rwanda's President Paul Kagame accuses the international community of mishandling the Eastern DRC crisis. Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us at this hour. I'm Amarachi Ubani. The United States has been calling for more sanctions on warring parties in Sudan to pressure the army and rapid support forces to negotiate an end to the ongoing war. At a session of the UN Security Council in New York, U.S. Advisor for Arab and African Affairs Masad Boulos said financial, military and political backing from outside actors continues to fuel the war, and now in its fourth year, with at least 59,000 people killed and some 13 million others displaced. Boulos said a proposed U.S. resolution would expand the existing UN arms embargo beyond Darfur to cover the whole of Sudan. The measure would apply to all parties operating in the country and explicitly include drones and related technologies. The draft resolution also calls on all countries to end direct or indirect logistical, financial, or military support that enables the conflict to continue. The United States did not identify countries providing such assistance. Egypt has openly supported Sudan's military, while the United Arab Emirates has repeatedly denied allegations it supplies weapons to the RSF. In the meantime, a major gathering of Sudanese political forces and civil society groups opposed to the war has ended in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The groups have rejected General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan's proposed national dialogue, saying they will not participate or recognize its conclusions. They argue that the initiative cannot bring peace while fighting continues, especially with the rapid support forces led by General Hemedti excluded from the talks. Former Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok also stressed that no credible peace process is possible without an end to the fighting. Participants accused Burhan of using the dialogue to legitimize his authority following the 2021 military coup. They also warned the initiative could deepen Sudan's division. Well, the UN's Undersecretary General for Political and Peace-Building Affairs, Rosemary DiCarlo, is calling for greater international attention and urgent action to change the dynamics between warring parties, whom she says remain locked in a zero-sum military logic despite ongoing peace efforts. Addressing the UN Security Council, DiCarlo said about 13 million people have fled their homes, including 8.7 million displaced internally across all 18 states. She adds that brutal mass killings and other atrocities, including the abduction of women and girls and mass rape, have become recurring patterns.
13 million people have fled their homes, including around 8.7 million who are displaced internally across all 18 states. The Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights has documented around 1,400 civilian deaths from January to June this year, including 1,100 people killed by drone strikes. Brutal mass killings and atrocities, abductions of women and girls, and mass rapes are recurring patterns. Since the start of the conflict, the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights has been able to document 838 victims of sexual violence, almost all women and girls, but these figures may only be the tip of the iceberg. Drones launched by both sides have repeatedly struck markets, schools, fuel stations, and water infrastructure. And in recent weeks, fighting in Sudan has been characterized by the heavy use of drones and localized ground combat in areas less affected by rainy season conditions. Hostilities have concentrated in North Kordofan, West Darfur, North Darfur, and Blue Nile states. But another worrying aspect of the conflict in Sudan is its increasing complexity. The sophisticated weaponry used continues to point to ongoing external support to both parties.
Staying with Sudan, the Nigerian ambassador designate to the country, Ambassador Danladi Nyaku, has presented copies of his letters of credence to the Sudanese Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Ambassador Mahedon Ibrahim Khartoum. The presentation formally marks the beginning of Ambassador Nyaku's diplomatic assignment in Sudan as it takes on the responsibility of strengthening bilateral relations between Nigeria and Sudan. The engagement is expected to further deepen cooperation between the two countries across areas of mutual interest, including trade, investment, security, and people-to-people relations. We'll be back in Sudan a bit later, but checking in on more evacuation efforts of Nigerians in South Africa. We're learning a new batch of 65 Nigerian nationals will be departing the Oliver Tambo International Airport in Johannesburg tomorrow, Wednesday, August 26th, under a private-sponsored return arrangement. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs says in a statement the returnees are expected to arrive at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, at 8:45 p.m. same day. Meanwhile, this arrangement comes after a group of 83 Nigerians returned from South Africa on a private arrangement with South Africa Airlines. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs says the federal government remains committed to the welfare and the safe return of all Nigerian nationals from South Africa. It also appreciates those aiding with their return. We're in South Sudan now, where armed men ambushed a patrol traveling to a remote area, killing 2 UN peacekeepers and injuring 7 others. The United Nations mission in South Sudan says although violence is rampant in the country, attacks on peacekeepers are rare. In the meantime, the mission has deployed a quick reaction force to secure the area and support the emergency response following the attack. No group has claimed responsibility. Meanwhile, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has condemned the ambush in the strongest possible terms, calling for a prompt investigation leading to the prosecution of those responsible. A journey of just 140 kilometers turned into almost 3 days as 14 vehicles from the United Nations mission in South Sudan, UNMISS, battled washed-out roads and punishing terrain to reach displaced families in Sokari. Vehicles became stuck in deep ruts while one suffered brake failure. The UN report says around 1,000 displaced families are sheltering at the Episcopal Diocese of Liwolo. For the UNMISS team, reaching Sokari was not just about completing a difficult journey. It was about hearing directly from families forced to leave their homes and unable to harvest their crops, while gaining a clearer understanding of the security situation, their needs, and the support required.
So the IDPs needed to be supported with a lot of things. Number one is the food, water, medical assistance, medicines, and then non-food items like saucepans, blankets, sleeping mats, and so forth, so that they can at least have a bit of relief compared to the situation they're in now.
As we live, a lot of the things there, the clothes are not there, children are not having clothes, and also many children are losing education. Because by then some of the other children, they were there in the school, but currently here others are loitering. As you can see, they are playing around the compound because there is no school for them.
Africa's border management is set for a major transformation with greater reliance on digital technology, biometrics and intelligence-led systems while keeping border management human-centered. The Comptroller General of the Nigeria Immigration Service, Kemi Nandap, stated this at a 4-day annual conference of African Borderlands Research Network, ABORN, organized in partnership with Lagos State University and the Nigeria Immigration Service in Lagos. As Nigeria hosts its first African Borderlands Research Network Conference, researchers, scholars, and policymakers are gathering in Lagos to explore connected borderlands, socio-cultural integration, and the role of policy, research, and security in strengthening cross-border cooperation. The conversation moves along with the Comptroller General of Nigeria Immigration Service, Kemi Nandep, calling for smarter border management.
The border of the future will be more digital. It will be more biometric and intelligence-led, but it must also remain human-centered. Protecting the state without separating communities. Facilitating legitimate movement without compromising security. And using technology without losing sight of the people behind the data. Nigeria is therefore committed to strengthening partnerships in border technology, biometric identity management, cybersecurity, surveillance, intelligence sharing, capacity building, and research.
Delivering the Minister of Interior's address, Senior Advisor to the Minister in Policy Research, Karim Olajoku, calls on Africa to adopt evidence-based approach to border management, while ensuring research remains responsive to practical realities.
Building resilient border lines therefore requires us to see border communities not merely as populations to be secured, but as partners in security, peace, and development. I equally encourage deeper partnerships among our universities, security agencies, regional institutions, and developing partners. Research must help us anticipate tomorrow's challenges, not merely explain yesterday's problems.
For Lagos State University, the gathering goes beyond hosting an international academic conference. It reflects the university's commitment to generating knowledge that speaks to realities, challenges, and aspirations of Nigeria and the African continent.
Our commitment is reflected in the establishment of our Bachelor of Arts program in border and migration studies. The partnership between the university and the institution responsible for managing immigration and migration matters is both symbolic and practical. Research needs practice. Practice needs research. And both need policy.
For Lagos State, we are Nigeria's economic and commercial hub and a major gateway for people, goods, capital, and ideas. Our relationship with neighboring countries is shaped every day by formal and informal, local and international movements. This makes it imperative that we produce the knowledge and human capacity required to manage mobility intelligently.
Through its interdisciplinary approach, ABON continues to promote deeper understanding of border governance, regional integration, and border cooperation in Africa. When we return after the break on Network Africa. Boot camp for African artists holds in the United Arab Emirates. To stay with us. Welcome back to Network Africa. Let's head to Niamey in Niger, where the Alliance of Sahel States has installed its first confederal parliament, giving 45 representatives from Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger a new forum to deliberate on common issues as the three countries deepen political and institutional integration. Niger's president and the Consultative Council for Refoundation, Mamoudou Dinjare, urged the parliament to bring the confederation closer to its people, stressing that integration should not be limited to governments, but understood, supported, and experienced by citizens. In January of 2025, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, all led by military governments, left the Economic Community of West African States and has strengthened their own political security and economic structures through the AES. Rwanda's President Paul Kagame has accused the international community of mishandling the crisis in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo and failing to address its root causes, arguing that sanctions and external interventions have compounded a conflict that has persisted for 3 decades. President Kagame also criticized international sanctions imposed over the conflict, saying they have added to existing problems rather than helping to resolve them. Rejecting accusations that Rwanda started the conflict in the region, President Kagame blamed Kinshasa, accusing Congolese authorities of arming and integrating FDLR fighters into their forces.
The facts are there, they are clear. The origin of the problem is known. The handling and the mishandling of this problem over many years is known. The actors are known. There are many parties to this program. One is Congo, the other is the international community that has really messed up this whole thing from the beginning, as we know it. There is Rwanda, there are other countries of our region. All these have a way they have contributed to the problem and a way they can contribute to a solution. But the way it is handled seems not to put that into account. And that's why the problem goes on forever. Nobody addresses the root cause of this problem. I haven't heard of any effort so far that focuses and tries to address the root cause.
Rwanda's President Paul Kagame. The UN Children's Fund, UNICEF, has warned that the global funding crisis for vital life-saving work is taking a growing toll on the most vulnerable children in Somalia, where hundreds of health and nutrition facilities have been forced to close. Speaking from the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, after visiting Baidoa and Bakaba regions, northwest of Mogadishu, UNICEF spokesperson James Elder highlighted how 205 nutrition facilities have already closed amid unprecedented cuts in funding humanitarian aid, further limiting access to essential services and care for children facing hunger and malnutrition.
In Somalia today, aid cuts are closing the doors to healthcare, they're shutting down nutrition centres, and they're pushing water, protection and education further and further from those who need it. As ever, children are paying the price. So on the back of unprecedented cuts in humanitarian aid, 205 nutrition facilities have already closed. Fewer facilities mean longer journeys for mums and babies. Longer journeys mean later treatment. Later treatment means more severe illness and greater risk of preventable death. This is the wrong moment to retreat. Somalia is confronting a worsening climate crisis, severe droughts in parts of the north, conflict, displacement, all on the back of a war in Iran and rising costs for fuel and fertiliser. And, of course, a record-strength El Nino threatens to compound Somalia's ongoing humanitarian crisis with severe flooding forecasted to come in the coming months. In Somalia, nearly 1.2 million children are projected to suffer from malnutrition this year, including 500,000, say it slowly, 500,000 girls and boys with severe acute malnutrition, the deadliest form. Protecting children is not a discretionary expense. Preventing suffering is not an inefficiency. And dismantling effective aid at the moment of greatest need, it is not a saving. It's a decision to pay more later, in money, in security,
Chinese and Egyptian fighter pilots are exchanging tactics during joint air combat drills in Egypt as the Eagles of Civilization 2026 exercise enters its first day of flight training. The drills, which include medium and close-range air combat under simulated operational conditions, cover air combat tactics, air superiority operations, combat search and rescue, and force deployment. According to Chinese Air Force pilot Shen Hao, the joint training will progress from basic one-on-one and two-on-two air combat exercises to more integrated system-level operations. He says as mutual understanding between the pilots deepen, they will be able to exchange tactical concepts and operational techniques more effectively. China's Ministry of National Defense says the latest exercises are aimed at strengthening military cooperation and mutual trust, as well as what it describes as a traditional friendship between the two countries. Now, a group of African artists in the United Arab Emirates are banding together to create a support system that will help every individual stay creative despite the tensions in the region. Nigerian entertainer Nse, the brain behind the initiative called DemoCon, has just concluded its 3rd edition and plans to keep it going. Our correspondent Mayowa Adigoke has more.
Tension in the Middle East is inspiring a group of African artists in Dubai to work together and create music.
An initiative that, which I put together to sort of make sure that all these artists who I know, just talented people, come and find themselves and, just make music and take their focus and their minds off just the general whatever that's happening right now and just keep the creative energy just going.
Organized by Nigerian artist Nse, the initiative called DemoCon invites singers, writers and others in the entertainment industry to a day of collaborative production.
We just try to facilitate the creative environment. You can see in the studio right now, we got the cameras, we got the lights, we got the speakers, we got the artist, the mic, whatever you just feel like doing. Some people that come here, they share their songs with the rest of the people here. There's open verses, people want to jump on it. You understand me? But at the end of the day, we just make songs, and we just love being artists and we love being musicians. That's what we do here.
From music recording to video making, this 3rd edition of DemoCon features Ghanaian singer Desama working with director of photography Tom Lebarich to create visuals for her latest song, Brand New Day. She hopes the song will inspire listeners to have a positive outlook on the world.
This is a great opportunity for artists because this gives you time to go back to yourself, to produce, to create, because for we artists, we pick inspiration from different places. So this is just an opportunity for us to talk about things and voice out things that matters to us. So I see this as a great opportunity as well, regardless of the ups and downs.
So I think they're very talented in voice, in art, in fashion, in dress code, with everything. I think it's something fresh in Dubai, which was, for all these years, like a conservative society, So they bring something like a fresh touch to the art and music scene, for sure.
Here to support the initiative are other established entertainers in the country, including DJ Swana, who plays for the UAE royal family. From Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, Maya Wadigoke for Channels Television.
And as we end the program, here's our fun fact for Tuesday. Did you know Cameroon is home to Korop National Park, one of Africa's oldest and most biologically diverse rainforests? The forest is estimated to be tens of millions of years old. It's home to more than 1,000 recorded plant and animal species. Even more fascinating, more than 90 plant species found there are known to have medicinal value. An ancient rainforest that is still protecting a remarkable library of life. That's the program today. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani.